You just can't beat a really good keyboard. It's one of those parts of a microcomputer that can be either really good, which is great, but nobody really cares that much, or terrible, and everyone laughs at it for the next 4 decades. But there are some keyboards that have a reputation above all others, and not always in a good way. The Sinclair machines of the early 80s were very much built to a price, with absolutely no expense spent, and no corner was left uncut designing the ZX81 and ZX Spectrum. So Clive gave his team a number and said, "Make me a computer for this much." And they did. Technically. This understandably required numerous compromises. One of the biggest compromises made on specifically these two machines was the keyboard. When building a new computer and making design decisions, you have a variety of choices. You can go all in and make something like Acorn did with the Electron, a stunningly good keyboard which still feels good today, if a little noisy. Or you could make half a compromise and have a keyboard that's pretty good, has nice clacky keys, but uses a PCB with contact pads and graphite impregnated rubber plungers. I actually quite like the C64 keyboard, but even this was a significant percentage of the whole machine's cost to manufacture. And don't forget that the C64 started out life around 3 to 4 times the price of a ZX Spectrum. Right at the other end of the scale, you could spend as little as humanly possible. But who would do such a thing? The ZX81 is possibly the worst keyboard on a microcomputer ever, but that machine is not the subject of this video, although it will be getting similar treatment very soon on this channel. There's no exclamation mark. How can you be angry on this with no exclamation mark? The ZX82, or as it would later be known, the Sinclair ZX Spectrum, was built with the same core principles as its predecessor, the ZX81. Put together a machine for as little money as possible that's technically still a computer. And don't build anything into it, but make it look cool. Obviously, they needed to improve on the ZX81, and one big improvement was the full-size moving keyboard. These days, having your keyboard with moving parts is very much expected, but back then it wasn't quite as certain and really was an honest selling point. The first time I got to put my grubby teenage fingers on that rubber keyboard, it felt great, especially after upgrading from the ZX81. Long years have forced me to grow a sense of perspective, and I can now see that this innovative keyboard was, well, it was a bit shit. Don't get me wrong, I still love it, but over many years I've been spoiled by actual keyboards with much better full-size moving parts. It must have been apparent that the Spectrum keyboard was a bit lacking as an actual keyboard, as one of the early third-party success stories linked to the ZX Spectrum ecosystem was the excellent Dk'tronics, who, among other peripherals for the Sinclair machines, were selling complete replacement cases with full-size mechanical keyboards. This chunky unit could house your ZX Spectrum motherboard, its power supply, and even had room inside for an interface 1 with cutouts at the back for the extra ports. The keyboard had full travel, typewriter style keys and made the humble ZX Spectrum into something far more usable as an actual computer. Tim Gilberts of Gilsoft fame told me his father would buy these in boxes of 10 and sell them at trade fairs. With their customers being text adventure fans, a mechanical keyboard would make playing this particular genre a joy. There was a healthy market for these keyboard upgrades. Fuller, another big player in computer peripherals in the UK, had the FD42, a follow-up to their FD81 case and keyboard upgrade for the ZX81. This became a popular and thriving market, with other companies creating their own take on the perfect ZX Spectrum keyboard. Advanced Memory Systems gave us the low-profile professional keyboard, although this same keyboard was also released by a couple of other companies, including Saga Systems Ltd, who went on to sell a range of keyboards for the humble Specky. These pop up from time to time on eBay and sell for crazy collector-only money. Fortunately, I'm lucky enough to know a crazy collector. This is a Saga 1 Emperor keyboard and case upgrade for your humble rubber key ZX Spectrum. It utilised the lower part of the original shell and just bolted, literally, over the top. They're pretty rare, and I have to thank Paul Universal Retro Boss for loaning this boxed one in immaculate condition to me. I won't be putting this together as it's a collector's item now, and I don't want to be the one to break it. Anyway, I need something better. Back in the day, another option for upgrading your terrible keyboard was DIY. Enterprising hobbyists would splice all kinds of keyboards into their cheap computers to give them something a bit more usable. This ZX81 has a ribbon cable soldered into the keyboard connections inside and is just hanging out here on the outside of the case. I don't have the keyboard that originally went with it, but it would probably have been something like this old terminal keyboard. Sadly, this one has a Dk'tronics type connector, or I might have been tempted to plug it in. I've seen a few ZX81s modified in this way, but it wasn't just the 81 that got this treatment. I happen to have an example of one of the most frightening Frankenstein combinations of hardware I've ever seen.
Look at the freak. Look at how hideous it is.
Actually, I really love this. It's a great example of period correct hackery of the highest order. I can't imagine I would ever have been brave enough to do this to my precious Spectrum back in the day, let alone with a C64 keyboard, which must have cost a fair amount all by itself. Sinclair took note of the third-party keyboard market success, and their 1984 model refresh saw them upgrade the case to the ZX Spectrum Plus, which I personally think is a downgrade. My Spectrum was a games machine first, and this nasty plastic keyboard was anything but good at games. It was great at pinching your thumb though. Okay, that's what happened 40 years ago, but what are my options today? I don't think even now I'm brave enough to plumb a C64 keyboard into a perfectly good ZX Spectrum on purpose, and whilst I do like my Dk'tronics keyboard, it's not quite as nice feeling as I'd like, and it's pretty bulky. I want something a bit more up to date. This maybe? This lean green mean machine belongs to my friend Matt over on the Tech Made Easy YouTube channel. He made a great video on building this ZX Mechtrum, which didn't make me jealous at all. I've also built a Lee Smith's workshop designed ZX Mechtrum a while back, but then I sold it for charity, raising a huge heap of money in the process.
Okay. Oh, look, Lee. Sweet! This is so freaking awesome. Here we go.
The Mechtrum keyboard is a huge step up from just about all of the other choices we've seen so far, but it does have one big problem. There's no spacebar. There is a space button, but it lives over here where the original rubber key layout placed it, making your thumb kind of redundant. But clever Lee Smith, fed up with constant comments asking him if he could add a spacebar, mostly from me, came up with the next revision of the Mechtrum. This is the Mechtrum Deluxe. The case has been altered to make room for a proper spacebar, and the keyboard PCB is a new one designed from the ground up by Lee Smith. I asked him about his new keyboard.
So I'm no longer selling the Mechtrums and not buying the keycaps in bulk, so I wanted to use the Wraith Keycaps, which are available from AliExpress. They've got all the Spectrum details on there, and we decided to put the spacebar on because everybody asked for it.
The Wraith Keycaps are a set of standard keycaps you can buy from AliExpress for not too much money. The design aesthetic is very much in keeping with the ZX Spectrum line of computers, and whilst not complete with all of the basic token keywords and symbols found on the original, they just have enough info on them to be usable. It's a reasonable compromise. What if someone wants this new Mechtrum Deluxe? How can they get one?
The files are going to be on printables. The keyboard PCB will be on JLC PCB as one of their shared projects.
Lee very kindly sent me this Mechtrum Deluxe kit to build. I've already picked out a Harlequin motherboard to put inside this, and all I need to do now is put all of this together. I recently replaced all of the switches in my own desktop PC keyboard and have these really good quality brown switches left over. I'll be using these to give a premium feel to this machine. The switches have two contacts and a plastic peg to locate them in the right place. There's a good amount of play in the 3D printed spacer section, so I anticipate having to do a lot of finagling to get them all straight. My first idea is to just put them all in place, solder one leg, make some rough adjustments to get them close to straight, then solder all the other legs and finally finesse them. How long do you think it will be before I realise I need to first solder the ribbon cables in place? The plastic surround blocks access to the other side of the board, and once the key switches are soldered in, I won't be able to remove it. Lee sent these two very thin PCBs and a couple of matching ribbon cables to connect the keyboard to the computer. As I said, I've built a Mechtrum before, so I know to look out for one possible pitfall. So I'll make sure I get these the right way round. The contacts on the mini PCBs are only on one side, and if you look in the sockets of this Spectrum keyboard connectors, you can see the contacts on the larger socket are on the lower side, and the ones in the smaller socket are on the top. or they would be if you could see them in this one. Wait a sec. Right, big connector, contacts at the bottom, small one, contacts at the top. Remember this, it's important. To work out which side I should solder the ribbon cable, I need to work out which way round everything goes first. I want the cable to bend towards the front of the case and then loop back towards the back. So with this small PCB being this way round, I want the cable to go out the other side from the edge connectors. And this is how it will sit inside the case. Perfect. I just need to do the same on the other side, but the other way round. Wait, I said the other way round. Why are you soldering it on the same side as the last one, you numpty? There are times when I'm editing these videos when I just want to reach into the screen and give myself a good slap around the back of the head. Wake up, Benchley. You're doing it wrong again. Yeah, the blue tack is the big problem here. He's going to get it in a second.
It's the wrong way round.
Well, we got there in the end. Now all you need to do is desolder that delicate cable and turn it around. And the most important thing here is to not be distracted by it. Oh, packages! Thankfully the board is so thin that the cable comes loose with just a little gentle wiggling and goes back in the other side. Probably a good idea to check, just like I should have in the first place. Don't want to make any stupid mistakes. The cables can now be attached to the keyboard PCB, taking extra special care to get these the right way around. And finally, I can start on the switches. I'll do the top row first, but I've put this extra one in the bottom row to hold the board in the right place. I was going to hold this foam over the switches to stop them falling out, but it felt a little less secure than I wanted, so I revert back to my trusty blue tape. With the solder still fluid, I can push down on the PCB to make sure the switch is flat to the board. One of them is trying to escape. Where's it gone? It's not easy to see on camera, but these are all over the place. So I melt the solder on the back and give them a tweak on the other side to try to get them as straight as possible. This 6-inch steel rule came in very handy. With this I could tell fairly easily which one needs adjusting. With them all pretty much lined up, I can solder the other leg and then do some final tweaking to get them as close as I can manage. I thought the bottom row would be a good idea to fix in place next, although it does have this tricky symbol shift key floating, with only the top edge being guided by the plastic surround. Same process, solder one pin in place. Check for alignment. Reflow and adjust. Rinse and repeat until happy. The symbol shift key is quite a long way out. I'm very glad I used the ruler to check. When reflowing these to get them straight, it's very important to wait for the solder to refreeze before letting go of the switch, or it could fall right out of the board. Oh, well, that could happen to anyone. At least you learned your lesson and it won't happen again. It's good to learn from your mistakes. You wouldn't catch me being caught out 3 times by the same trap. Oh God. Muppet. Right, that's all the switches soldered. Just a final tweak to get things as straight as I can. Oh wait, there's one more. The new spacebar. Now this is complete, I can push this section into the top half of the shell. It's a perfect fit. Then once I've plugged in the connectors for the keyboard, I can start to put the final touches to this. Or I could if it was actually finished. There's one more thing to attach to the PCB. Stabilisers need to be screwed in place to support either side of the spacebar and the oversized symbol shift key. I'll do the smaller one first. You can see lifting on one side also lifts the other. These stabilisers are super cheap and I wish I'd bought better ones, but this is what I have to work with today. I can always swap them out later if needed. I'm having a bit of trouble getting the spacebar one fitted. The lugs that go through the PCB might not be all the way through the board, but I can't tell as the top half of the case is in the way. Well, they're moving, but the action is super stiff. This spacebar would push down, but it wouldn't spring back up by itself. In the end, I took it out of the top half of the shell, and after a bit of wrestling, which I didn't record, I managed to get it fitted, and the spacebar now moves up and down freely. It's time to put the keycaps in place. This feels like a big moment. How about some dramatic music? Already these feel fantastic. It helps I've rested this on a foam sheet, which gives it a nice deadened feel, but it will still be an amazing keyboard in the 3D printed case. The Wraith Keycaps do have a couple of compromises, with 2 of the keys not being perfect. There's no single size cap enter key, so I'm using this rainbow keycap, which is the wrong height, but it still looks great in here. The other one is the symbol shift, which is way oversized. It's another good compromise though, and I think it fits well with the overall theme. Time to button this up. After I got this up and running, I discovered my Harlequin was not working correctly. For some reason, it didn't like running some of the things on my Dandinator. I'll get to the bottom of this another day, and for now I'm going to substitute this issue 6A 48K board in here for testing purposes. It will do everything I want today. It's worth noting that Lee Smith recommends you replace the voltage regulator with a Traco type switching regulator to stop heat building up inside the case, which could warp the plastic. I won't be running this for very long, so I'm happy to risk it for a few minutes testing, just to get this video done. First up, Jetpac, a seminal masterpiece of its time and a firm favourite of mine. I know this game well, so this should be a good test of the keyboard. And I have to say, it doesn't feel right. But I'm putting some of this down to me and what my muscle memory is used to. I've said it before and it's worth repeating. The 48K rubber key keyboard is a great game controller and a bad keyboard. This new keyboard is a great keyboard and maybe not the best game controller. How about my favourite Spectrum shoot 'em up, Arcadia? Well, this one still feels good to me. I think I'd prefer it on the rubber keys, but I can happily play this on here without issues. But what this should be great for is text adventures. Let's see if I've got any better at the Hobbit. Yep, smashed it. The original Mechtrum was a great case and keyboard, and this Mechtrum Deluxe improves it significantly. But I had to ask Lee Smith, right, what's next?
In between work, I'm working on the Plus version. We finally found a 128K keyboard that works on the Picos and the ES Spectrum boards made by Don Superfo. And I've got that. It's going to be the Wraith Keycaps again. And I'm currently designing a case. It's going to be a big old case. So the initial design you won't be able to print. And then eventually I'll slice it. And again, all the files will be on printables, including split versions and complete versions. And you can get the current 128K keyboard from JLC PCB. That's on Don Superfo's shared projects.
I've seen a few early test prints of the Mechtrum Plus, and it does look amazing, and it will bring the extra functionality the original Plus keyboard gave us, with extra keys like the cursor keys and a delete key. So maybe I'll end up selling this one for charity one day so I can upgrade to the Plus. But for now, I think I'm happy with the Deluxe. I'm looking forward to having this around to use day to day, and eventually I'll fix whatever's wrong with the Harlequin and put it back inside this very special case. Right, but what's next? Well, I can tell you that soon this little beastie will be getting a similar makeover. And not only that, the computer I'll be putting inside a new case will be all new too, built from scratch for your viewing pleasure. And you'll just have to see these new keycaps I have waiting for this project. Don't forget to push the like button and subscribe to both my channels. This one, More Fun Making It, and my sister channel, More Fun Fixing It, where things are a lot more busy. Also, have a listen to my new podcast, More Fun Talking Retro, which you can find over on the More Fun Fixing It channel or on your regular podcast listening platforms. Thank you for watching. I'll see you in the next one. Right, Manic Miner time. Where's my earplugs?
I didn't know you could do that.